The city of Springfield recently lost Councilor E. Henry Twiggs, who passed away at the age of 80. He was a lifelong champion of civil rights and marched with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in the 1960s. Family, friends, and community leaders are remembering Twiggs as a man of courage, conviction, and compassion. Connecting Point's Ray Hershel sat down with two of his colleagues on the City Council, Kateri Walsh and Jesse Lederman, as well as civil rights activist Benjamin Swan, to learn more about the legacy of Mr. Twiggs.
I would probably suggest to you that little has happened in the last 55 years in Springfield, politically, that Henry has not been involved in some kind of way. Mm-hmm. I first met Henry when I was organizing the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963. Mm-hmm. The labor union that he had been involved with selected he and Oscar Bright as delegates for the March on Washington. The labor movement, as you probably know, was very involved in that march.
Oh, for sure.
And
yeah.
that's why they call it for jobs
yep.
and freedom. For jobs to try to treat public works, and also freedom to try to get passage of the Civil Rights Bill.
Yeah. Definitely active in all these different issues. Kateri, you've known Henry for a long, long time as well. You served on the City Council with him. What are your thoughts about the legacy that Henry leaves?
Well, I knew Henry before he was on the City Council, and I was delighted when he joined just because of the way that Henry is, such a true gentleman and such principles that I always stuck to. But I knew Henry as an organizer. I mean, as Ben said, anything that happened in the city of Springfield, Henry was a part of it, a huge part of bringing back the Democratic City Committee, bringing it back to life. But the thing about Henry, he was so respected on a city and state level that he was able to connect with people like Governor Patrick, who came to many of his events. People respected Henry. They wanted to be with him. And I interviewed him several times and was really so impressed by his civil rights legacy. And I would like people to remember that, you know, Henry had a belief. He lived that belief. He put his life at risk for that belief. And I think that there aren't many people like Henry. Ben's one of them, still around. And we don't want to forget how much Henry did that has made life better for so many people today.
For sure. And Jesse, I was interested in reading your remarks about the influence that Henry had on you as a young candidate, almost mentor-like, if you will. Can you talk about how Henry helped you and your thoughts about the man?
Certainly. Well, you know, I think one of the most special things about Councilor Twiggs is in light of everything that the representative, that Councilor Walsh just said, despite all the heights that he rose to, he was always one of the most accessible leaders in the city, and especially to young people and young candidates who were interested in serving and making a difference. I met him when I was probably about 13 or 14 years old, growing up in McKnight, same neighborhood as the councilor, and I was working with a youth group around anti-violence initiatives, and he came to one of our events and spoke with me and invited me to a Ward 4 Democratic Committee meeting. And from that time, he was always very supportive and encouraging, providing guidance and advice as I became more involved in the community, in the Democratic Party, and eventually in political life in the city of Springfield. But it wasn't only me that he supported and that he mentored. When we celebrated his 80th birthday earlier this year, there was a big party for him, and myself, Councilor Fenton, and Councilor Hurst all spoke. And one of the reoccurring themes in our speeches, which, you know, were not coordinated, were looking back at big challenges that we had taken on and our thoughts of, you know, are we really ready for this? But our conversations that we had with Councilor Twiggs that showed us we were. And I think that's a big part of the legacy that he leaves behind.
Kateri, you mentioned the connection with Deval Patrick, and
he'd probably want to be a delegate, I think, if he was still around for Deval Patrick.
For sure. Deval called Henry Twiggs an inspiration, a source of encouragement for him, gave him a lot of guidance and wisdom as he was running for office as well. But that's the kind of person Henry was, wasn't he?
Yes, as a matter of fact, you know, when you talk about people running for president, Henry was very involved in many presidential elections and conventions. I myself became a delegate for John Kerry through my association with Henry, but he was at several conventions. I know we mentioned that he was at the convention for the Clintons. He was there for the Careys, but people reached out to him. It was his personality. I mean, he really connected to people, and he was so kind to people, and that people really wanted to be with him and to be part of his team.
For sure. What are your final thoughts about Henry as we close this show?
Well, I'm eternally grateful to him for all that he taught me, and I think that the work that he did in the civil rights movement long before I was here truly informed the advice and the guidance that he gave, not only to myself, but to so many individuals who want to be involved and who want to lead. When we think about the times that we are in, the challenges that still face us, we take inspiration from the work that Councilor Twiggs did and all that he taught us. And our work in the upcoming term is going to be dedicated to his life and to his legacy. I think when we look around as a young leader and with my associates on the City Council, we still have many that we look to for guidance and perspective. But as the years go on, what I've said to my colleagues and to my peers is there's coming a time when it will be our responsibility, when people will look to us to lead and to face these challenges, and we are going to be forever informed by those and the history that came before us.
And, Ben, we've got 15 seconds, a word or two, just a final thought about Henry.
Henry's legacy will live on. We've lost him in the physical sense, but his memories will be lasting. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate the association over the years, very much so, with my family and a lot of friends that I know personally.
Okay, very good. And Kateri, your final thought.
Well, I think that's important to mention the tremendous support that Henry got from his wife, Karen, who was always so supportive of him and his efforts. I think all of us know to be successful in politics today, your family has to support you, and Karen was, I called her the 14th counselor. I mean, she was there and she supported Henry, and my heart goes out to her. I know it's a tremendous loss.